Morning guys, my name's Colin. I work for Citizens Advice Calderdale in Halifax as a gambling support service trainer, and I cover Yorkshire, Humberside and North Lincolnshire. So for those of you that have already watched my previous video, you'll already know what it is that I do, but for those of you that have just dived straight in, let's give a quick recap. I deliver free training to frontline workers across our region, and the idea of that is to help them gain a better understanding of gambling and the harms that it can cause to both the individuals as well as the friends, families, and also to wider society as a whole. Today what we're going to focus on is we're going to look at the impacts of gambling in our communities. So obviously before we can look at the impacts of gambling, we first need to know what gambling actually is. So I know it sounds pretty obvious, I'm sure most of you are already fully aware of what gambling is, but just to give it its proper definition as per Gambling Act, gambling is betting, gaming or participating in a lottery where gaming means a game of chance for a prize, and a prize is defined by money or money's worth. And as you can see there on the screen, it's by the Institute of Ontario. What they've defined is a person who's gambling is whenever they are taking a risk of losing money or belongings when the winning or losing is decided mostly by chance. So essentially what we're looking at really is placing something of worth, usually money, on an event that has an unknown outcome. So there are loads of different types of gambling, most of which, if not all of them, you'll already be aware of. The Gambling Commission, though, who regulates the industry, they categorise different gambling activities into these different sectors. So you've got arcades for adults and families, you've got betting, be it online at an event or at a high street bookmaker, an event obviously being something like if you went to the horse racing or to the dogs. Bingo, again online or in the bingo hall. Casino, the same, so it's online or in the casino. You've got national lotteries, which are sweepstakes, raffles and tombolas, obviously things like the National Lottery, which everybody will know about. And then finally, you've got gaming machines, which are fruit machines or fixed odd betting terminals. So, I know most of these are self-explanatory, but for those of you that don't know what a fixed odd betting terminal is, they're essentially a computer terminal that allows customers to place bets on an event that already has fixed odds. So I've just put some examples up there on screen. They all look very, very similar. They're all essentially the same sort of computer terminal. And in each of these machines, they have a variety of different types of games that can be gambled on. The vast majority of people, though, that seem to play the fixed odd betting terminals, the real favourites are roulette, which you can see there on the screen, or blackjack. The other alternative that seems to be most popular is the online slots, which is basically a computerized fruit machine. These machines, they've acquired the not undeserved title of the crack cocaine of gambling, which is mainly due to the highly addictive nature of most of them and the vast sums of money that can be lost in incredibly short periods of time. So before April 2019, unbelievably, it was possible to stake up to £100 per spin or per hand. And when you think about how quickly these hands and spins can take place, you're looking at once every 20 to 30 seconds. So you don't need to be a mathematician to work out how quickly vast sums of money were being lost on these machines. So thankfully, after April 2019, the government agreed to lower the maximum stake to just £2 a spin or a hand, which of course was very, very welcome. But unfortunately, the same doesn't apply for online gambling. You can still play on there for as long as you want, and you can stake as much as you want. There's no limits to the online side of things on gambling, and that's obviously a massive area of concern, particularly during the lockdown, where the betting shops and casinos have been closed. I mean, I know that the betting shops and casinos have now started to reopen as we're easing lockdown. But the concern is how many people who were traditional betting shop gamblers, for example, have now turned to online gambling. Whereas once upon a time they might just go down to the betting shop and they'd have the bets in an afternoon or on an evening or whenever it might be. These people have now discovered the convenience and the ease of 24-hour gambling from the comfort of their own home, be it on a phone or a tablet or on a laptop. And the worry now is how many of these people will have found alternative things to gamble on, such as the online slots or online casinos and things like that. It's a real area of concern. So, as we know, sport's currently making a return as lockdown eases, with football and horse racing, two of the sports most popular among consumers and gamblers. They came back in mid-June. But with no sport being played almost worldwide since March, this has obviously meant a huge reduction in sports betting. You can see there on screen it's actually decreased by 31% during the lockdown period. Um, but before you start to think this is a good thing and you're starting to worry about how the bookmakers are going to be able to put food on the table, let's just have a look at some of the other forms of gambling that they provide and see how they fared during this period. So you've got online slots. What these have seen is seen a rise of 25% play during the coronavirus lockdown period. You've also got online casinos, which you can see on screen there. That's the computerized version, but there are also online versions where you can play with a real dealer, with real cards, at a real table. It's just literally like watching a dealer in front of you, but you can do it from the comfort of your own home. That has seen an increase of 38%. And then we've also got the virtual sports. These have seen a whopping increase of 40% just during the coronavirus lockdown period. It's really worrying, really, because how many people will have found themselves gambling in these ways, such as these alternative ways, virtual sports, online casinos, online slots. They've found themselves gambling this way due to the lack of sport that's been available to gamble on. And will they actually stop gambling on these additional sports now that the traditional real sport has made a return? It's a real worry that they might not be able to separate that, and they'll just continue to gamble online as well as gambling on real life sports as well. And of course, online gambling is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can literally gamble all day, every day, should you so wish to do so. Virtual sport is a prime example of this. Virtual sports have been around for years and years and years, but they were recently thrust into the public eye due to the Grand National. You might remember that the Grand National this year were cancelled due to the coronavirus crisis, and so in its place, what we had was a virtual Grand National, very much similar to what you can see on screen there, which effectively computerised horses. But prior to this, nobody had any. Well, there's lots and lots of people had no idea that such a thing existed, and obviously for this whole Grand National thing, it seemed like a real bit of novelty. It was a bit of fun, and of course, for a lot of people, it will have been fun. It will have been a bit of novelty. But potentially for thousands of new online customers, it could potentially open up a brand new world to them that they didn't realise existed before. And so what you'll find is that there might be a lot of people that would traditionally only have a flutter on the Grand National, maybe just have a couple of quid, once a year on the Grand National. Lots and lots of people tend to do that. So that's fine. But for this virtual Grand National, what they've had to do is they've had to open an online account in order to be able to place their traditional couple of pounds that they would do. And these people would ordinarily probably walk past the bookmakers 364 other days of the year and not bother. However, now that they've got this online account, what it does do is it opens advertising and marketing streams directly into the inboxes of these customers, who otherwise would probably not give gambling a second thought throughout the rest of the year. And the problem here is that these sort of events, this Grand National computerised virtual racing, it's not just a one-off. This is going on all day, every day, literally every single minute. It's not just horse racing either. There's virtual football, virtual greyhounds, virtual speedway, Formula One. The list is endless. And they take place with such frequency, it's almost impossible to place a bet on each event as they come forward. Because they're happening so often. I think a new race sets off every 2 or 3 minutes on the horses, likewise on the greyhounds, likewise on the motor racing Formula One, all virtual. So when you think about that, if each of these are setting off every 2 or 3 minutes and they're all staggered, it's impossible to be able to get a bet onto all of these. And this is 24 hours a day. You could gamble at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You can gamble at 3 o'clock in the morning. On these type of events, they just literally never ever stop. So the point that I'm trying to make really is that the gambling just doesn't sleep. And as I've said, the coronavirus has potentially opened up a whole new world to a whole new market of people. And the impact of this we're yet to see. And we'll see as time moves on just how many people have started to gamble more. We're seeing there an increase of 40% just on the virtual racing. How many people will continue to do that now that lockdown is easing, now that they've found a new form of what they might think is entertainment at the moment, but as time moves on, depending on how much they're gambling, it could begin to develop into a problem. So, just for a bit of fun and a quick gauge, why don't you test yourself and have a go at naming which companies you think these screenshots that I've put on screen here are advertising. Don't worry, you're not going to get any must-try harder remarks or red pens from me, but I would hazard a guess that I reckon that you're going to be able to name at least one or two, if not all, of these companies that are on screen now. Now, obviously, they're all adverts for gambling companies, but I reckon that even people that don't have any interest in gambling whatsoever could probably name at least one or two. And the point I'm making here really is that it's the frequency that these adverts are being beamed into our home that even people have got no concerns, no thoughts, no inclination towards gambling. They're going to know what these adverts are, and that has made gambling normalised. It's absolutely constant. It's around us all the time. It's complete commonplace in society. And for many, I mean, that's not an issue for quite a lot of people. But if we just think about those people that are struggling with gambling addiction, the inability to escape it is, you just can't do it. It's constantly on TV, on radio, online. It's everywhere. It's impossible to escape. You might know that from some pressure from some lobby groups and what have you recently, during the lockdown period, there was a ban put on gambling advertising for a period of time during the lockdown, and that started on the 7th of May. So they weren't able to gamble. Sorry, they weren't allowed to advertise gambling on TV or on radio from the 7th of May. But that was only for a finite period of time, and that has now expired. And they've now made a return to screens and radios. It's also at a time that it's coincided with the return of live sport, as I mentioned earlier on, football and horse racing and things. They're all now making a return at the same time as the advertising. It's also worth noting that the gambling advertising ban didn't extend to online. So if you think about those people that I mentioned earlier on, those that have opened brand new online accounts, the advertising was still there. They were still getting emails. They were still been getting all these, have a £10 bet, get a £10 bet free, and all these different promotions that you see continually all the time. Have a go at bingo, have a go at online virtual sports, casinos, all these different things that the gambling industry offer to basically encourage and entice consumers into parting with the money. It is just a constant stream of gambling advertising at the moment. So as I've mentioned there, gambling, it's became normalised. There's been a real normalisation of gambling. It's accessible 24 hours a day. People can gamble all day, every day, from the comfort of their own home. Now, I'm not against gambling. I've got no desire for gambling to be banned. I'm certainly not a prohibitionist, or what some people would call prohibitionist. People can and do enjoy gambling in moderation, but if we're going to gamble in moderation, if people are going to be able to gamble in moderation, surely we need to have the advertising in moderation as well. I mean, if you take Premier League football, for example, it's watched by millions and millions of people all around the world. Now, out of the 20 Premier League clubs this season, half of them have got a gambling company sponsored on the front of the shirt. I mean, these players are the role models to us children and young people, but they're also the walking advertisements for these companies. Tobacco and alcohol have long since been banned from being able to do the same. So I don't really understand why gambling hasn't caught up, why we don't do the same for gambling that we have done for tobacco and alcohol. You don't see alcohol or tobacco products advertised on shirts, in the grounds or anything like that. I really do think that it's time that gambling was the same ban was placed upon gambling. Because of the harm that it causes to society, it's just as much as alcohol and tobacco, if not more. So there's recently been what's called a whistle-to-whistle ban. And that's been basically what that is. It's a TV advertising ban on gambling products between the kick-off of a football match right through to the end of it. So what that means is that once upon a time you would have seen Ray Winston come onto your screens at half-time, for example, talking about betting in play now, bet on the next goal scorer, it's in-play betting, so things that you can bet on during the match. And the aim of that really is to reduce the exposure to gambling products during the match, just to stop encouraging people that were just watching the game to then have a bet. But if you have a look at this picture that I've just put on screen here of this football match, this is a football match that has been played since the easing of lockdown. So I think this was at the back end of June sometime. even if you forget the fact that one of these teams has got a gambling company sponsorship on the front of its shirt, have a look round the outskirts of the ground and just see how many different advertisements there are for that one particular company. If you look at how many there are, it makes you wonder what's the point of having this whistle-to-whistle ban if they can still do this. It's just, is there really any need to have so many advertisements on there? And like I say, one of the teams also has it emblazoned on the front of the shirt as well. And finally, if you just have a think about how you view the different forms of gambling as well, particularly on the back of the wave of advertising that we've seen here recently. I mean, once upon a time, if you think about betting shops, they were what was stereotypically a male domain in sort of smoky, dingy places with anonymous fronts, nowhere to see inside from the outside. But if you fast forward to the current day and to the present, these betting shops now, they're heavily branded, they're clear, clean open spaces with free tea and coffee machines. Really sort of trying to encourage customers to come in, making it a bit of a social experience, making it something that is normal again. Similarly, bingo, that was stereotypical, the sort of place that your grandma went with her equally elderly friends. But now, again, through clever marketing, bingo's promoted as this big social event. If you see all the adverts that are on the telly now, you see groups of friends, young and old, all having what is purported and seems to be this great time. Everybody's laughing and joking, high-fiving with each other to make it seem like it's this fun experience. Similarly, casinos. I know you don't tend to see casinos advertised on TV, but again, if you think of a casino and how the idea of that has changed over the years, I mean, once upon a time, it was seen as this James Bond type establishment for highbrow and those sorts. Now, the places that people go for work nights out and just for a bit of fun. And again, all well and good. I'm not trying to ban. I'm not saying that people can't have fun, but please just think about those people that gambling's no longer fun for. It all depends on your perspective, of course, but the landscape of gambling has completely changed now. There's also, with that, has been a dramatic increase in the number of people who find themselves highly addicted to gambling. And these are the people that need your help and your support. And hopefully between us and together, that's what we can provide. It's just raising this awareness of what gambling is and how it can affect people. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you have, there's 3 more videos that all focus on different aspects of gambling and how you can access support and help. I'd love you to watch them as well. But these videos are only intended to give a quick overview of what the full training consists of while we can't get out and about to you in person. So if you are in the Yorkshire, Humberside or North Lincolnshire region and you think that your organisation would benefit from our free training, then get in touch. I'm taking bookings now in anticipation that the lockdown continues to ease. So get in now and get your place secured. All my details are on screen. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. You can see that there. It's at GambleSupportYH. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Yorkshire and Humber Gambling Support Service. So you'll always be notified when you get new videos, when the new videos are uploaded, rather. And obviously, if you've got any questions, require any support or help with any of your clients who present with gambling issues, or you'd like to book the training, then just drop me an email. I'm at colin.bland@calderdale.org.uk. So once again, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll hear from you soon, and I hope you enjoy the other videos as well. Thanks again.